Big breaking news coming in once again on day 9 of the crisis. Ukraine has just made a very big claim over Russian fatalities. Ukraine claims that it has killed 9,166 Russian troops, shot down 33 Russian aircraft, shot down 37 Russian helicopters, destroyed 251 tanks and 939 armored personnel carriers. These are huge claims that have been made. There is no proof of many of these claims. The fog of war is writ large in the war of claims between Russia and Ukraine right now. Ukraine making a big show of its counter-offensive on Russia, claiming that it has killed over 9,000 Russian troops and 33 Russian aircraft and 37 Russian helicopters, 251 Russian tanks, 939 armored personnel carriers have been destroyed. While it is definitely true that troops have been killed, tanks have been destroyed, carriers have been smashed, it is unclear whether the huge figures being quoted by Ukraine at this point of time are anywhere close to the actual reality. I want to go across to Hanna Shelfest, who joins us live from Kiev at this point of time. She's a well-known analyst from the city. Hanna, thank you very much for being with India today. I wanted to get your perspective, amidst this entire fog of war, of the huge claims of damage that Ukraine has just officially made of having killed over 9,000 Russian troops, having shot down 33 Russian aircraft, 37 Russian helicopters, smashed over 200 tanks and 900 armored personnel carriers. These are very, very big numbers, Hanna.
Yes, that is very, very big numbers, but for the last 9 days, that is very, very big fightings happening.
Yeah.
And Ukraine is using quite a serious air defense systems plus drones like Bayraktars, and many videos are available. So if you search for the fights near Kharkiv or Gostomel or Sumy or Chernigiv, most of these tanks or armored vehicles or air planes destroyed. You have videos when there is lines near the road of hundreds of cars, and that is happening because one Bayraktar, when it is the assault, it is the reaction. You're targeting, for example, fuel car, and then the fire from the fuel car is getting around. And many other examples. About the 9,000, we are talking about approximate numbers. The reason is that, first of all, definitely in many places where the fightings are happening, we cannot calculate the full numbers. But at the same time, Ukraine is proposing for the last 4 days for the Russian Federation to start getting off from Ukrainian territory the dead corpse of their soldiers. Unfortunately, Russia didn't want. And it is quite interesting when you saw the pictures already at the first days of the killed Russian soldiers, and the Russian Ministry of Defense said, oh, we have only 2 persons killed. Even on the video, it was visible of much, much bigger amount of dead personnel. So that is definitely, as you said, will be quite an information campaigns happening because for Russia, Russia presented itself as a mighty superpower, military power. So when they are not getting their goals and when they have victims, it is very difficult for their armed forces to acknowledge that they have losses.
Hanna, yes, there is always a lot of misinformation when it comes to conflict. There is always this curtain of a fog of war on both sides. I'm not saying that it's coming from Ukraine alone. There are always claims and counterclaims happening. I just wanted to ask you, we have seen images of the damage. We have seen, smashed tanks and, perhaps the debris of aircraft. The reason I'm asking you this is because there is a great deal of imagery, video footage, coming out from Ukraine right now. It is not always easy to tell what is authentic and what is not. Many media have been playing things which don't really depict the reality of what's going on the ground. Are you saying that the video footage of what's coming out does not show the entire picture? Because so far we have not seen that kind of scale of damage that the Ukrainian side is claiming. And I must admit, it's not visible of what the Russian sides are claiming also.
The issue is that I've been working with the information security for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So I definitely checking and double checking, and I understand, and I work with conflicts for many times, so I know how it works. The issue is that we now have more than 1,000 foreign journalists in the country. So many of the footages, you are not receiving the Ukrainian propaganda as Russia can present it. You have, including Indian journalists, there are many of them, and you've been reporting about what happened, for example, in Kharkiv. The question about the casualties, you need to understand one thing, that Russians predominantly striking the civilian quarters. They are striking the buildings, the administrative buildings, and the living quarters of the cities. At the same time, Ukrainians are trying to target the military columns, the cars of the Russian Federation. That's why it can be a certain disproportional. Still, Russians definitely tried to attack the military bases as well, one of the first and Ukraine is reporting our casualties as well. So we are not hiding that we have killed personnel, killed pilots, for example, and so on. But at the same time, we also have a lot of cameras, web cameras, and many of the videos, like, for example, in Kharkiv, what you saw, that is, it was Lviv, or what yesterday happened. Russians managed to burn Ukrainian nuclear plant in the city of Zaporizia. It is one of the main nuclear atomic stations in Ukraine. And it been just recorded at all videos, both from, for security reasons. You understand that nuclear plant is always under very heavy security video monitor. These videos are already available online because they were live and people been expecting the assault against the station.
I wanted to ask you about the Zaporizia incident as well, Hanna, because that's become the big talking point right now. It is easily the biggest development, in the last 12 hours. I want to put those images on our screen of the fire at that nuclear plant as well as the shelling that took place over there. The Russians say that they are fully in control of Zaporizhia at this time, Hanna. What are you hearing? There was shelling. They allowed the fire services personnel to go and put out the fire. Mercifully, no damage to the reactor complex. But the Russians say they are controlling it now, Europe's largest nuclear facility.
It is one of them. It will be really devastating for the energy system of Ukraine. But you need to understand that Energodar, it is the town of Energodar. Its name is Zaporizhia power plant, but it is not stationed in the city of Zaporizhia. It is in the town of Energodar nearby.
Right.
The locals been really opposing. You also can find pictures how hundreds of locals been standing at the entrance of the city, trying not to allow Russian forces to come because they understood the security risks of nuclear security, and we can name what happened. Really, these fightings, it is nuclear terrorism. Let's name the things as they are. I never previously saw where the nuclear objects being under such a threat, and we already have the statements from the International Atomic Organization of the United Nations. So the issue is that Russians definitely allowed the certain emergency team, Ukrainian emergency team, to come, the firefighters, because as for now, we say that something like Chernobyl will not happen because that block that is under the fire had only storages, so it shouldn't be reaction. However, if the fire would continue, that can be much more serious consequences. Plus, it is consequences for the electricity and heating, because from this station, we had the energy for the heating and electrical system. And it is now just zero outside. So it's quite a cold weather, and you can imagine the humanitarian consequences of what has happened.
Very, very, disturbing developments there at that nuclear facility. We've also, you're a security analyst as well, Hanna. You've seen a spate of attacks on energy facilities. Over the last 5-6 days, there have been attacks on oil facilities, oil depots, not very far from Kyiv. We've seen one in, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in Oktyrka and Chernihiv. There have been some oil facilities that have been, shelled from across the border in Russia. So there appears to be a concerted attempt to kind of take control of these strategic facilities and establishments, because energy is crucial to the kind of leverage that Putin may be looking for as he comes under increasing pressure from the world.
Yes, because Ukraine is not producing, we're producing a lot of the atomic energy or electric energy, but we don't have sufficient gas and we don't have our own oil. So that's why we are dependent from this. And you understand that that is the fuel both for civilians and for the military. But for civilians, that is also very important because the huge evacuation of people is taking place. Plus, you need to provide the basic services for people. And that's the issue. So as for now, we see that Russians in general are trying to target what we call critical infrastructure. So they are targeting the fuel facilities, energy facilities. They are targeting aerodromes. They are targeting the TV towers. Don't forget that in many cities, they tried to destroy the TV towers so people would not get access to information, and it will be easier to make the panic or the misinformation in these towns to make them surrender. We also have targeted ports. Yesterday, we had the accident when Russian missile targeted the Bangladesh ship in the port of Mykolaiv. One Bangladesh citizen were killed because of this. And also yesterday, they targeted another commercial ship under Panama flag. We saved 6 crew members. So they started also targeting now the navigation and the civilian ships under the foreign flags. So call it piracy or call it terrorism, but that is unfortunate developments happening now as well.
Okay, Hanna, thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us on day 9 of this military operation. There was a bit of a lull yesterday. Things were relatively calmer yesterday. They appear to have escalated once again in different places. Just a short while ago, while we were talking to our reporters on television, we could hear what they said were possible cruise missile attacks about 20 kilometers outside of Kyiv. My final question to you, Hanna, is on that part of it. Are you seeing or are you hearing through your networks that there is an increased number of cruise missile attacks on the outskirts of Kyiv, on military units outside Kyiv?
Because in general, the increased amount of heavy missiles being used, we see Kalibr, we see Iskander, we see different cruise missiles used not only there, but also don't forget that for the last 8 years, Russians brought a lot of this type of missiles to Crimea, and they can reach from there very easily because the range is approximately 400 to 500 kilometers. So you have both these attacks from the south and from the north, so from the territory of Russia or Belarus. So they are using their facilities in Belarus as well. And that is quite dangerous because you see the devastating effects of the use of cruise missiles against the civilian infrastructure in the big cities.
Hanna, thank you very much for being with me. Stay safe. We'll keep coming back to you. Thank you very much for being with us at this time.